put on your seatbelt. Let's go!
All right, turn up the music.
Welcome to Scream Queens Horror Road Trip Podcast. Damn, that hurt my ears. That's our final girl, Miss Justine, over there screaming her head off, and I am your sole survivor, Mr. Josh. Welcome to the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our fabulous fucking show.
It's fabulous and it's fucking. We are currently headed up Interstate 81, heading north. We're in Tennessee, on our way to Washington, D.C.
Yes, we are heading to D.C. to go to O Street because we have a fantabulous episode to bring you.
Yeah, we're going to go explore the mansion at O Street, which if you know anything about it, it's like this huge interactive museum inside these several mansions that are like connected, and it's almost like a Meow Wolf, or you just go and explore. It's really weird and trippy.
That's like eclectic art and installations, a vibrant, just, continuance of these connected mansions that are going to kind of lure us in. And
since we are going to go explore a weird house, we're covering the 1986 cult classic House.
Yeah, that's the thing, guys. Maybe 1985, maybe 1986. IMDb is strange on that. But so if you're sitting there and right as Josh said 1986, and you're like, no, it's 1985. Just know that there was discrepancies. Well, but the release date
is February of 1986.
Yes.
So we're going with that.
So we're going with that. If you caught it at some festival in 1985, cool.
Good on you. Anyway, so 1986's House, directed by Steve Miner. He's kind of like a horror legend in his own right. He did Friday the 13th Part 2 and 3, which are really great sequels. He did Warlock. He did H2O in the 90s, Lake Placid, which we've covered Lake Placid if you want to go back and listen to that episode.
And his boss man, Sean S. Cunningham, who directed Friday the 13th, is the producer on House. So this is just kind of a Friday the 13th house party.
Yeah, if you listened last month, episode 104 was our Friday the 13th episode. Now
Iconic!
Now you're getting episode 105 House.
105 House.
That's not the address, but it's just the episode number.
It's starring William Catt, who we love from Carrie, who plays like the boyfriend. That shot of her with the blood dripping and the boyfriend in the blue suit with the curly hot ass hair.
Not Carrie's boyfriend, it's her Amy.
Yes.
What's the actress?
But Carrie is up there with him on the stage.
Right. He's the prom king in Carrie.
Yes. And so he is our main character, Roger, and then we kind of have a slew of late 80s and early 90s TV stars that make up the remaining cast. George Wendt, he's from Cheers.
Yes.
And Kay Lins, who was like a huge 80s, 90s. It said on IMDb prolific.
What shows was she on?
Like a ton of them. I saw on her IMDb, but she was like doing things like moonlighting. She was on like Dallas, Not Slaying.
Yeah.
Like
she looks like someone that would have been on like Dallas and Dynasty and things like that.
I guess, oh yeah, maybe another one to mention is there's a character in the movie, Tanya, and she's like a Bond girl and was Miss World.
Her character is so weird in this movie. We'll get to that.
Yes. I guess maybe very European, they might say.
Yeah. The music is also done by Harry Manfrini, who did the music for Friday the 13th, and you get that same vibe in the music. Some of the music cues are very similar.
Which is nice. You get really settled in. You kind of feel like you know what you're in for, or at least like it reminds you of something that you've known before. Like the opening score, I get all settled into something spooky.
Settle into something you've known before.
Oh, thank you. Are you writing some lyrics over
I'm
there?
writing some lyrics. I felt it flowed, and
like your period.
It needed to be written down. So. For prosperity.
Okay. Should we go ahead and like open the movie up? Open the house up?
No, let's keep farting around and pissing our listeners off. Yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, let's drag this out a little bit more. Opening. We get that wonderful score we just mentioned, and these like shots as the credits are going of the house, this Victorian, huge home.
Yeah, it's beautiful Victorian in California. Not sure what part. There's palm trees.
Yes.
And it looks very California.
And we're talking about characters who are going to be like book writers and actresses. So, California, here we come.
Yep.
Okay. Delivery boy drives up, and he's got some groceries for Miss Hooper, who is the lady of the house.
And he decides if no one's going to answer, he's just going to walk in and roam around looking for her. Couldn't she have been out at like a doctor's appointment or buying, well, not buying groceries because the grocery boy's there, but he's walking around just snooping around that house looking for her, and he's like, it's the grocery boy. It's
the 80s, it's the grocery boy. What you going to do?
She must never have taken the time to get to know him or learn his name.
Or locked her door. Yeah. So he's walking around, he drops off her groceries, and is just kind of a little concerned. Like, she's not answering. We gather that she is probably feeble. She can't get out. She has someone bringing her groceries. So I'm thinking she's at least bedridden or something.
Well, she's not feeble enough that she can tie a noose to her ceiling and hang herself.
Yeah, so. No, not at all. I was getting
I think she's pretty mobile.
Yeah, so we find out she really was, because she is now hanging. He finds her, runs out screaming like a little bitch.
And we also see her just roaming around the house talking later in some flashbacks. I don't think she was that, bedridden or anything. I think she just
needed groceries.
Stayed in her house, was probably a recluse, didn't leave much.
Old lady.
Just an old lady, probably didn't drive anymore.
Yeah. Okay, so she's dead though.
She's dead. And grocery boy finds her hanging in the upstairs bedroom. And while he's roaming around, you see some weird art that she's painted. He even comments on it. It's like, weird, that's gross. And that kind of comes into play. You find out she's an artist.
Do you think she was like up there, and her last things that she heard before she decided to unalive was him saying like, that's gross about her paintings? Like, she was like, that's it. Cruel world,
that's
goodbye.
That's the final straw.
Okay, so yeah, he does run out, and then our next scene is it's a rainy funeral, and we meet our main character, Roger
Cobb.
And he is there. It's a very small, intimate gathering of like 3 people.
And we find out Roger Cobb not only invented a salad, he also is a famous novelist. But apparently has only written 1 novel. He has writer's block. He needs to come up with another novel. He's still touring around, signing autographs for the book he wrote years ago. And his publisher is like, dude, you gotta write another book.
You need to be churning something out.
And we see him signing copies, and he has a long line. You get the idea that he has a lot of fans. People really love this last novel that he wrote.
he's got, like, the fan base is kind of eclectic as well. It opens up with that one lady being rather, like, over the top, sniffling at him, and he has a few different dudes. One's giving super serial killer vibes.
You get, like, a punk rocker in there. You get Frau Farbissina from Austin Powers.
Yes, yeah.
In the crowd.
But this is also a good exposition area, kind of like how we find out about him and his past, that he only has written a few books, and that they're kind of like going to be different than what he plans on writing next, which is a story about his Vietnam experience, that he's been married to an actress who seems to be a working actress because she's got a really good gig on TV called Resort. And then we find out that he hasn't really made anything else, and that his fan base might not be that interested in a Vietnam story.
Yeah, and we also find out that his son has been missing, and that's kind of what broke up the marriage.
Yeah.
Is that his son went missing. Does it say how long ago? I don't recall them ever saying how long the son's been missing.
What's funny is, like, here they've gotten divorced at this point, and she's, working.
I'd say at least a year.
I would say at least a year, yeah. But they were living at the house, and we're about to journey there as the movie progresses. It's going to take us back to the house, and he's going to move in. And
we first go back to the house in a flashback, and we see when the son was kidnapped.
Yes.
And you think kidnapped because there is a red herring of when the son goes missing, you see this car peeling off on the street and turning, and that was my first thought, like, oh, your son's
been
kidnapped.
Abducted.
But then Roger sees the boy like drowning
in the pool.
But then when he dives in, he's gone. So you're like, oh, he's just crazy. He's seeing things or imagining things. He probably was kidnapped, put in that car that was peeling off,
and
down
that's
the street.
That. But yeah, so he's got obviously a lot of trauma in his past, recent trauma. It's 86, so Vietnam. He's got some post-traumatic stress from that experience, and now he's lost his aunt, so he's inherited that home. Thought he wanted to sell it, gets there, has his little flashback that almost like sparks, or I guess maybe he gets curious that the home actually might be where he's going to find the answers as to, like, where his missing son is.
And you know what Dorothy Gale said, there's no place like home.
There is no place like home. So he meets the realtor there and kind of does a quick look over with that person there, and we see again those paintings, but also those paintings we will kind of like notice that on a rewatch you really see that they're kind of telling you the story of what's going to happen.
Because one of them has the old lady, the aunt, and she's looking through like a weird mystical door that's like floating in like the sky, and there's going to be a lot of like doors and windows and orifices that come into play.
Oh, you just had to throw in orifices.
Orifice.
What is
portals?
Okay, portals, that would have completely fit.
Holes?
I'll give you that. Orifices, that's like kind of specific to like
the body.
Human body hole openings. What in this movie is there a human body hole like
I don't think
opening?
the definition of orifice is human body hole opening.
Well, no, that's really loose, but of a
Oh, I'm
definition.
sure it is, girl. I'm sure it's pretty loose.
Okay, whatever. So he decides, he's going to move into this haunted house, essentially. He's walking through the home privately. He gets kind of lured into what we figure out is his aunt's bedroom, and that's where this closet, this door is.
And she's in there, right?
She is in there. She is standing there, and she tells him,
the
like,
house is going to trick you.
Yeah, the house tricked me. And then she kind of gives him a, like, get out of here while you can, and then jumps off of, obviously, nothing. It's not anything, but she puts the noose around her neck.
Yep, and jumps off, and he's like, no, and tries to save her, but she disappears. And he's like, whoa, holy shit, she disappeared.
And it kind of spooks him out, obviously. That's kind of freaky. And he runs out of the house to kind of catch his breath, and that's where we all meet Harold, who is his neighbor.
I believe played Norm on, or was he Norm? I forget his character's name. He was kind of the bigger fellow with the dark curly hair that's always sitting at the end of the bar.
Yeah.
One of them's Norm. I can't remember if Norm was the mail carrier or if it was him.
We'll look it up when we round back. I know we say that, and then like half the time, not even sometimes, at least 50% of the time we forget to follow up.
But, you know, a lot of the times we're recording the second half like days later.
Yeah,
you know, if it's a trip where, you know, right now we're heading up, you know, we're actually not going to be in DC until a couple days, so it's like then we'll record the second half.
Yeah. So we're just, you know, doing a little housekeeping right in this moment, apologizing for any time we don't ever actually circle back to something we say.
Sometimes we forget.
We forget. We're human, okay? Get off our backs.
And I was like itty bitty when Cheers was on, okay?
He's itty bitty now. He's the itty bitty titty. So yeah, we meet Harold, and Harold, upon meeting Roger, figures out he's like Roger Cobb, the book writer, and he's his biggest fan in a weird way, like that he carries his book around.
And it's like a tattered, torn up version in his pocket. And he's like, here, sign this. I carry it with me.
So Roger's like, you know what, I'm going to create some distance. I'm going to have some boundaries with you. I need solitude. I'm going to go back into my haunted house.
Yeah, one of my favorite weird line deliveries is when he's telling him, like, I came for solitude. You know? Solitude? I don't know, just the delivery
it's
of
a little
it's pretty
too,
funny.
like,
you know, solitude.
Sure.
Like, get the hint,
elbow,
buddy.
yeah. Okay. So Roger goes back inside the house, and he has a recollection as he sits down to write of his Vietnam experience, and we meet in his recollection the character Ben. He's kind of like a real Rambo, tough guy, machismo man, and they're all in the jungle in Vietnam.
And I think he's played by the guy that was the bailiff in Night Court, if I'm thinking correctly.
Oh, I gotta look that up.
Yeah, if you guys remember that show. I think so. That's who, like, and you know, it's full of TV stars. They did that to help keep the budget down.
Yes. But in this flashback, he is remembering this moment where his encampment is all under fire. It's like him and maybe like 12 other comrades, and this guy named Ben, who I guess is maybe like his buddy if they're in the buddy system. Like in the military, you got kind of like your dude that you got to make sure, like...
And they're playing jokes on each other, like he puts a snake in like a little cigarette box or snuff box or something.
It pisses off the commander, though, because they're supposed to be kind of like maintaining a quiet, like... They don't draw attention.
Charlie is around. They got to be quiet. Yeah. They got to take this serious.
Charlie is around. I guess that's just kind of like the enemy at hand, yes. Charlie. And he's not Ben's not taking it seriously. He comes off as like, I'm a gun-toting Rambo guy. I'm here to like just shoot him up, but then I also want to be the prankster in the group and cause unnecessary attention to our area, and then they get kind of like under fire. We just get like moments of Roger's Vietnam past, and he went through a lot of like moments of just real terror while there. It's to build up something, guys, okay?
Yeah, and we're seeing what he's writing. A lot of these flashbacks come in the form of him working on his novel. So whenever he's typing on one man's story, a story of my experience in Vietnam, that's I think the full title of the book he's working on. We're getting those scenes in the flashbacks of him writing the novel.
And he seems to always have his ex-wife's TV show on Resort in the background while he's doing his work.
It makes no sense, the things she's saying, because she's like, she was an only child. How could you do that to my sister?
Yeah.
We're like, what?
How could you do that to my only child's sister?
Yeah, she's like, she was only, and we've watched the subtitles. It's not she was only a child.
Yeah.
It was she was an only child. How could you do that to my sister?
Yeah, because we were convinced that we kept like
Hearing it
mishearing
wrong.
it.
And we're like, okay, no, she's saying she was only a child, but then
Yeah.
it sounds just like she's saying she's an only child.
She was an only child. How could you do that to my sister?
And the subtitles inform that. And then she says some other weird stuff like, I won't smell it, but I can tell you that. I was just like, I think it's supposed to be just like a little wacky,
like balls
and
out
weird.
crazy.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah, like an evening soap opera, kind of like a Knots Landing or a Dallas.
And this movie skewers that line of like comedy and horror. It really is in the vein of movies like Troll or Society, where it's just like these horror movies kind of shot in the middle of the day. That's one thing I feel like they have in common. Like all the horror, except from maybe the end scene, most of it takes place in like broad daylight. There's like weird humor underlying most of the movie. None of it, they do not take themselves that serious.
No, it's gaggy, you know, like it's kind of, gaffs are all around. Like there's the hand that's like on the back of that child, you know, like just a lot of slapstick.
And even though this movie is rated R, it could easily be like PG-13. Nowadays, I feel like it would be. And it's good, like gateway horror, something you might show someone to get them into like horror movies that wouldn't scare them too much, but that they would still have just a good time with.
Yeah, and the creatures in all of them, the monsters in this movie, I love all of. It's not like special effects. They're real. They're animated. They're animatronics.
Well, it's still special effects.
Well,
but
I'm
you
sorry. I
mean
mean, like computer generated. Yeah. It's just they're not. Yeah, it's not what we kind of like.
It's all
get used to nowadays.
practical
Yeah,
effects,
it is
in
just
camera.
puppets, and there's people working behind the scenes in a way that is very different than now, and seems maybe just a little more. Just.
It looks more organic, more. I mean, all of it is very silly. I don't want to say it's realistic, but there's something about practical effects and using puppets and mechanics and costumes that looks more tangible, looks more real, even if it looks silly. And
it's like they're
like
fighting, and they're really fighting.
Yeah, it doesn't look like animation.
Or even though I'm sure it was choreographed, it doesn't look like it was choreographed because you've got like green dots all over someone. You got to make sure that like, okay, well, like I'm supposed to, or you're interacting with just a pole. It's fun, and it brings something different, kind of to the screen, a different dimension. And this movie's all about different dimensions.
Yeah, it is. Different orifices that take you to dimensions.
Different orifices.
Yep.
Okay, so we have Roger. He goes into his aunt's room again after being lured at his computer. He was writing about his Vietnam time, and he hears his son Jimmy, this laugh, and it coaxes him upstairs, and then he hears this kind of ruckus in the closet, opens it up, and we get our first like creature, and it springs out at him.
It's got a bunch of limbs that are just flying towards his face, kind of cutting his body in some degree. There's like faces on it.
Yeah, it really reminds me of the monster from like The Thing.
Yeah, I can see that.
But different.
Sillier.
Yeah, but different, and not as like, it wasn't scaring me as much as I really enjoyed looking at it. It was grotesque, and then upon doing a little bit of research, finding out that they wanted those creatures to look like people that had been, covered in napalm. So adding a different kind of horror to it, a realistic, also adding that through line to Vietnam. So it comes out and it's all like scratching at him, and he later shows his breasts to us, and he's got these like claw marks on him, kind of to prove that it wasn't just something he saw, it really happened to him.
Because he's telling the guy from Cheers, like, I think the house is haunted, and the guy's like, no, that's still, they're having dinner together, and he's like, look, I have all these cuts on me.
Yeah, but he like reveals his breasts to him in a way that I can only think was from me.
Oh, sure.
It was just supposed to be like me watching that, and he was like, look at what happened.
Look at this nipple, look at that nipple. Want to lick it?
And then
that's what he says to the guy
he lays
from
down
Cheers.
on the table and creates a feast just of himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really sexy.
So after he has this like little monster attack, he decides to kind of go full out, puts his fatigues on, puts on his like old helmet, and sets up all of this like really 80s style AV video and photo lighting setup to catch the monster in the closet.
Yep. He wants proof. He's gonna get it on camera.
He's gonna get it on candid camera.
Oh, bless me.
Bless you. My goodness.
Oh my gosh.
Why'd you so loudly do that?
Why did you
did that
sneeze?
into the mic.
I'm sorry. I wanted them to really feel it.
Oh, right into the mic ass.
Oh.
The orifice.
I like when someone sneezes in my ass.
Weird.
I don't know.
That's just weird. And that's when he's telling Harold, who kind of like happens in on him, like with this big setup, like, dude, I think my house is haunted. And Harold gives him the benefit of the doubt when he's asked, like, do you think I'm crazy? He's like, no, I think a lot of bad things have happened to you lately, and you've had a lot of trauma, and so that's kind of manifesting.
Yeah, he tells him you got some loose marbles, but it's because of your trauma.
Yeah, and I guess if I was here, if somebody was telling me everything that is currently happening to them in the house, I too would fall back on like, man, you've had a lot of things happen to you lately. So maybe your psyche is just having a hard time dealing with all of it, and this is what you're pushing out birth-wise.
Out of the orifices.
Out of your orifices. But yeah, I thought that was just a really grown way of telling your friend, like,
you crazy, but
it's all right. It's a passing craze.
You've been through something. You can be crazy for a little bit.
But on his way out of Roger's house, Harold kind of $5 discounts Roger's address book at a time when we didn't have like cell phones, and we had to carry around address books like in our purses or in our like pockets that held all of our phone numbers.
And good thing Harold does, because he goes home and calls his ex-wife, and he's like, your ex-husband is crazy, you need to come check on him. She's like, I got to be on set at like 7 a.m., 6:30 a.m. in the morning. I just can't. But I'll call him.
Yeah, she's like, I care, but like, did you notice that he's my ex-husband? So I don't care that much. So like, I'll call him, I think. Maybe. I'll call him. Maybe. Okay, but we didn't even mention that previously, before Roger decided to move into the house, or did we? From the award show? I forget.
Oh, yeah, she calls at one point.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm at the award show. And he's like, oh, yeah, the award show's tonight.
Yeah, it's just not
It's like, obviously, like the Emmys, if she's a TV actress.
But can't say, I'm at the Emmys.
Which I don't know why.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they just leave it at, I'm at the award show. I
Any
lost
award show.
the award show tonight.
Yeah, she's not that good of an actress. She lost.
But, hey, she was at least nominated.
Can't win them all.
Yeah. It's just an honor to be nominated.
It truly is. She, though, is a dedicated actress, so she's like, sorry, I gotta be on set. I can't be checking on him. I'll give him a phone call, like you said. And so Harold's like, okay, I'll watch your boo. And then they hang up. And then Harold pulls out his
Purple crayon?
Harold and then writes fiercely with that purple crayon for quite some time.
No, that doesn't happen.
Okay. But so she does call, at least, to check in on him, but he's fine. So what's to do? You know, like, he's fine. He doesn't want to talk. He just wants to go back into his flashback mode and remember Ben and the incident that caused his death as they go walking around the perimeter of their encampment. And Ben just kind of horses around too much.
Mm-hmm. Gets shot, right?
Demasiado.
And then he's like, kill me, finish me off. And so he's like, oh, you want me to
pull out your
finish
purple
you
crayon?
Off? He's like, you're dying, Ben. You need one last orgasm?
Yeah, he gets like all shot up, and then Roger gets interrupted with his dream or his flashback of this, and his house starts having like paranormal activity, and we get this scene where he finds all these house appliances, these tools in the garage, and they start like floating around and attacking him.
Yeah, it's like those hedge clippers want him
so bad. And that fish on the wall that his like uncle had caught and was
it's a big ass marlin.
Yeah,
swordfish.
A swordfish.
And it's huge and ugly, and you're like, damn, those things swim around the water. Okay.
Like next to you?
It's gonna get you.
Is that where they swim? Is like pretty close to the top?
Yeah, they come right next to you.
Oh, that makes me want to vomit. I cannot stand thinking about. I mean, I get that like we're swimming around in their home, and that's why I'm not going out there.
But we're guests in their home. They should have a little bit more consideration
and swim
for
a little
us.
deeper. Yeah. So when you have guests around, just be on your best behavior and lower into the open ocean.
That's right. That goes for all you listening.
All of the open ocean life that's cluing into this podcast.
Swim away. Get away from the people.
Swim away. So paranormal activity, and there are like, so he gets chased around by all of those like garden tools and like this rake and I don't know, what's that, a spade, and then he runs down his like steps and opens the door, and his ex-wife is standing there.
In like
Sandy.
A beautiful blue dress. Her hair has
Purple.
been blown out. Yeah, purple. Her hair's been blown out. Full beat of makeup on her face. You're like, oh, she's dressed to come see her ex.
She's from the award show.
Well, this is days later.
But she was at the award show.
She just slept in that same makeup.
Yeah.
No,
She
her
came
hair
from
was different at the award show. She was in a different dress.
She was award show.
She is an award show. She's a smoke show.
She is a smoke show. She is like, I'm just checking on you, but you got a shotgun.
She always talks with this cadence of like, but hi, Roger. I came to see you. How are you, Roger?
Are you all right, Roger?
Roger, very breathy.
Roger?
Very breathy and warm.
Roger?
Roger.
Roger?
Raw hair.
But Roger isn't really, I don't know, he's kind of not convinced, and then she falls down, or like, I don't know, she bends down and then she pops back up, but she is not Sandy anymore. She's Monster Sandy.
She's like this big boobied, scary troll monster, still in that dress.
It's just, it's a very tattered and torn dress at this point, and she's chasing after him. She has this like crazy like, Roger, why'd you do that to Jimmy, our son? It's a crazy voice. I do love it.
He gets his shotgun and shoots her, but as soon as he shoots the monster, it turns back into his ex-wife, and he's all like, no, I didn't do this to you. No, it can't be you.
And he's just been shooting off a shotgun in the house, so Harold next door thinks that he's trying to like off himself.
Yeah, and calls the police and says like, my neighbor's committing suicide.
And he might not have been the only person in the neighborhood to call, because the police show up really quick. And they're like, we got a call that there had been firearms shot out.
And Roger's like, oh, that, yeah, I was cleaning my gun,
This whole thing?
and it just, went off. I thought it was empty, but I guess it was loaded. Oopsie.
And he hears those like sirens though coming before the cops got there. He had like 2 seconds and hide Sandy away in
Like
basically a little
pantry under the stairs.
Yeah, a little cupboard. And he gets, the officers are like, well, we're gonna have to write you a citation. You cannot shoot off a firearm in the city limits.
He's like, a citation? Thank you.
I appreciate a citation every once in a while.
Better than being arrested for murder. Thank you.
They're like, what's your name, Daddy? And he's like, well, this is my name. And they're like, wait, you are Roger Cobb, the author of these, like, this story, this set of... Yeah.
I am.
So, people do really know him as this novel writer who's created this world, but, fell off the radar maybe a little bit, hadn't written anything since his son went missing. And they're like, can we, like, take a dump in your toilet? Is that okay?
He's like, no, I mean, yes, yeah.
Go ahead.
Fart it up.
And Harold's like, I'm coming in too. I'm your nosy neighbor. Everybody goes inside. And Roger makes the cops and Harold coffee. And there's, like, gun shells on the floor. And the cop's like, I'll take those. And that's it. Like, I'm not further sus about any of this.
Yeah,
I'm
I don't
gonna
know why
go.
he couldn't have gun shells on the floor. Yeah.
So he can't have gun shells on the floor, but he just shot off the gun, and his story is not adding up at this point. Like, by the time they get into the kitchen, on another rewatch, as I'm like thinking, his story just doesn't match up anymore from what he tells the cops. But they don't really care because he is this writer. So they're not really worried anymore about if he was something got to do with something. And so they leave after taking a huge dump in his toilet.
I mean, the kind where you got to get the plunger out afterwards to make sure it all goes down.
And he's like, all right, see all of you later. And Harold's kind of like looking at him like, I know you're up to something. And he's like, get the hell out of my house, Harold. Bye.
Bye, Harold.
Slams the door, goes to look for his dead ex-wife. She's not there anymore. But plot twist, she is actually upstairs. No longer ex-wife. She is Monster Sandy.
Yeah, she really was a monster after all. So thank God he didn't really kill his ex-wife.
Thank goodness.
Just shot at the monster who's now
now has the gun.
Reanimated itself and is after him.
And is like, say your prayers, Roger! But
Monster didn't know that gun was empty.
The gun ain't loaded, baby. That gun ain't loaded, baby.
Unloading me, baby.
So he isn't going to die, and he, like, gives her, like, a little karate chop, and she falls over. And then he chops her head off, and he's like, yeah. And
well,
then
her head gets chopped off because he opens the door and all those gardening tools come flying at her. And one is like the big gardening shears that cuts her head off.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so he doesn't have his hands on it. Like, it just, like, chops it off.
It flies
it
at
just
her
goes
and
at her and cuts it off. But he's happy about that. He even, like, is celebrating that it's happened. He is so celebratory that he decides to turn on the classic hit, You're No Good, You're No Good, You're No Good, baby.
You're no good.
You're no good.
But it's a cover. It's not the original. They couldn't afford the original.
But he gets this whole little montage of, like, packing her up in a trash bag, and You're No Good's playing, dragging her down the steps, taking her out to the backyard, and
Is this when he's wearing his deep V-neck, or was he already wearing that earlier?
He's been V-necking through...
Well, no, this is the deep one that almost goes down to, like, his belly button.
That was prior.
Okay, when he first met the lady across the street, right?
Yes, he met Harold, and he met her, the lady across the street. She was jogging in her, like, leotard and everything.
He's wearing the deep V-neck.
The deep V.
One of my favorite costumes in a movie of all time.
Of all time.
Wardrobe.
On him.
And he looks very much like an 80s Ken doll. Like that. I feel like that outfit, even his hair, how he has, like, not quite a mullet, but kind of a little curly haired mullet.
It's like, it's packed down in the back.
He has his, like, kind of like gray tapered slacks on, and then, like, this long cut V-neck sweater. He rocks it.
He does.
He gets me hot and bothered in it.
You're bothered? You're all bugged about it?
No, it really is, like, hot.
It's bothering you.
Oh my God, we're having to stop.
Oh no! Oh no! We're getting... Oh no! Sorry guys, it's this weird traffic situation that's causing us stress.
Truck just, like, didn't yield, but then is getting on with his blinkers, or hazards on, going super slow, nearly causing a wreck.
Ow!
I'm a wreck now because of it.
Oh my gosh, guys, this really is a road trip podcast.
Some people just don't know how to drive, sir.
I am convinced there's about to be a weird semi-collision.
Well, he's driving like a fucking idiot.
Oh, wow.
Just keeping it real so you guys know what's going on in our lives as we drive 81 North still in Tennessee.
Well, just like there's chaos that's happening in our lives here on the road, there's chaos happening for Roger. So he is taking this body, this wrapped up in a black trash bag and bound in rope body, into the backyard, and that's when we get this official meet and greet with Tanya.
She comes over in her blue one piece.
Another breathy,
with her ass
bodacious
cheeks
babe.
hanging out.
Yeah.
Very like 80s bathing suit. She's looking hot. She's talking to him like, oh, hi. I just love a man who works hard, but I can also tell when a man loves to play.
Yeah, and she is a, I think it was like 1978 or 1977 Miss World. So she really is gorgeous and looks very similar to Farrah Fawcett.
Later is a Bond girl. I'm not sure
Yes.
in what movie.
An
but...
Octopussy.
Oh, she's an Octopussy?
Yes.
Okay.
But she...
That means 8 pussies.
It does mean 8 pussies. Wow.
Octo.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she
If it was hexapussy, that would be 5 pussies.
Yes. I'm so glad that you're
Just clearing that up.
clearing up what wasn't any kind of confusion. Okay. So we meet her. She is in the pool, but not her pool. She's in his pool, which used to be his aunt's pool.
She's like, oh, hey, your aunt used to always let me swim over here. That's still cool, right? Because I'm hot.
And look at me, my ass cheeks are hanging out of this bathing suit, so it's fine. I'll see you later, Roger, wink. And then she kind of like grabs his junk and slaps his ass and skips on out.
Yeah.
And it's a comedic moment though, because like the body in the bag is kind of like reaching out. This hand is
Trying to touch her.
trying to grab her foot, and so he uses his shovel and just kind of like members the hand, and then he has this like idea, I'm just going to dismember all the body. So he starts digging small holes everywhere in the backyard and puts just little bits.
Yeah,
of her.
it cuts to after one shot of him just standing there admiring his handiwork, which is a bunch of little holes all throughout the backyard. I'm like, that's a little suspicious, Roger.
And also, he had just told the Tanya girl that he was going to dig a hole for this big, huge sapling. So if she came back like the next day, only to not see a big, huge hole, but small little holes everywhere, he just doesn't really think it out. But that's okay. That's the ridiculousness of this movie.
Yeah.
And then we get him kind of like closing up shop that night at home. He's closing doors, turning out lights. He goes outside to kind of like do a sweep of the backyard because, again, he has just buried a monster body in the backyard. And Harold's dog's out there and has just dug up this hand of monster Sandy's. It's all painted
like,
nail.
Oh,
and
jeez.
I love that it is like this kind of like, it's a huge, fat, decomposed
Purple
hand with these fingernails, these red fingernails on it. It's like super funny. And it's animated as well, so the hand's like moving about, and the dog runs off, scurries off, and so does Roger to try to obviously retrieve the hand. And then he gets interrupted with this chase by Tanya showing up with her son, which we just meet. We just find out that she has a son.
Yeah, and it's the weirdest scene. She comes in, she's like, hi. And he's like, I don't have time. She's like, oh, it'll only be a minute. And then she basically is like, listen, I have things to do. Here's my son. You've never met him. You've only met me briefly for like 5 minutes, but I'm going to trust you with my kid.
Robert.
And I will see you later. Bye. Oh, here's his clothes. Here's some toys for him to play with when you bathe him. Just like, it's out of control.
And the hand is on the back of Robert. And so Robert kind of goes running around the house, and Roger has to like chase him down, get the hand. It's this weird moment where it's Robert and Roger in the bathroom, and Robert is crying.
And his mother's not like, what are you doing to my son in the bathroom?
It's weird. Obviously, in today's times, the scene could not happen. Just, it's way too...
And then he's all like, oh, he had to go potty. I helped him. She's like, oh, great.
Yeah, here's all of his things. Bye. Like, you're going to babysit my son.
It's like, oh, that's so wonderful. Here's all his belongings. I will be back later.
You will just babysit him because, you know, like, I'm European and it just comes off this way, and you will do it because it's cute, right?
You'll do it because you think I'm hot and you want to fuck me.
Yeah, and then she kisses him on the face, like, I'm so happy you'll do this for me, and kisses him smack right on the lips, and then leaves. With the kid's just like, hi!
Yeah. So he's like, here, you sit on the floor and play. I'm going to keep writing my novel.
And while he's writing the novel, we get another, like, throwback, or a flash... It's not a throwback. It's a flashback of Ben and Roger. And this is, like, where we get the right before his death. And we find out that he got shot, but that's not really what killed him. What killed him was... he had asked for Roger to finish him off. He was like in so much pain.
And Roger just couldn't. He's like, I'm going to go run and find help.
Yeah. And no knock on that. I'm sorry, but like, I might not be able... Don't ask me to do that.
I'm not going to slit your throat.
No, but don't... Josh, right now, with all of our listeners here, tell Josh, like...
I won't ask Justine to slit my throat.
Okay. Like, if it ever happens, I'm not doing it, so don't ask.
Okay.
Okay. And then don't hold it to me and then end up like coming and haunting me afterwards. So that's the reason why Ben died, apparently, is that after he was shot up and Roger wouldn't finish him off, he was found by the enemy and drug like into their camp and then tortured for like weeks. Okay,
there's that part out.
Yeah, we'll find that part out. But like, we see this happen, but we don't understand that like there's even worse that's gonna happen to that guy. Okay, so he comes to and Robert is upset, and so he's like, "Come on, let's go take a." Well,
no, first Robert gets dragged up the chimney.
He like gets dragged up the chimney by these like critters, which are creepy. Like they almost remind me of trolls.
Yeah.
The monster or the troll monster like kind of like their like the costume itself. And they run off with him and drag him up this chimney, and then Roger has to also try to pull him down. What's funny is this also reminds me, or not even reminds me, I wonder if any way this was how it got inspired by later in the movie Krampus.
Yeah, it could be.
How we get that scene of the boy being drug up the chimney and all the parents having to try to pull him down.
Yeah.
Because like Roger, it takes every bit of his strength, bodies, he's like yanking this boy. But finally he saves Robert, and Robert is just so upset that he gets a post-trauma bath, as you do.
And they're like being all cute, throwing the sponge at each other, and just being all like, he's being like, I'm like a father figure to you right now, Robert.
And Robert feels safe. I mean, he did just find out that monsters exist and that he was nearly a victim of them, but it's bath time. And then Tanya shows up and takes her son and is like, thank you so much for babysitting, goodbye.
Yeah, she's like, oh, thank you, Roger. Robert, was Roger nice to you? Oh, I'm so glad.
Oh,
see, I knew I could trust you.
Oh, touch my little coochie, thank you. Goodbye, and that's it.
Pinch my nipple before I leave.
That's it.
Yeah.
That is it. That's all we see of Tanya and all we see of Robert.
I don't really get it.
This whole, like, all of it, I just don't quite know what some got to do with some.
Yeah, something's not having to do with something.
No.
With that character.
No, not at all. Oh my God. Yay. Oh, you guys are hearing it and witnessing it.
My car thinks I need to take a break.
So Josh's car will ding until, if Josh just even slightly, like maybe there is a pothole in the road or anything, roadkill, something. Or Josh is trying to fall asleep at the road while he's driving my precious ass across this country.
A little symbol of like a coffee cup pops up and says, "Consider taking a break," and it beeps at me. But that's one of the safety features in my vehicle.
But every time it happens, I will go off on Josh and be like, "How dare you fall asleep at the wheel with me in this passenger seat over here? I could have died."
And passenger side of your best friend's ride, trying to fall asleep.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah, I thought so.
Oh, wow. I loved it. Okay. Anyways, digress. Get back on track. So, Roger ropes Harold into his shenanigans. He's like, "Hey, come over.
I need your help.
Want you to help me write a book. Plot twist, you're going to help me get this monster out of a closet with this rope and this harpoon." And Harold's like, "I don't believe you, but we'll go with it." And then quickly does he realize, yes, Roger was telling the truth.
This is for real.
This is for real. Roger was telling the truth after all. A monster flings himself out of the closet. Harold witnesses it, harpoons the monster, but...
Pulls Robert in, though.
Yeah, Roger.
Roger in.
Yeah.
Robert was the little boy, yeah.
The harpoon, like, he somehow, like, doesn't hold on to it. I mean, like, that monster's pretty strong. So Harold loses grip on the harpoon gun, and when he does, it, like, ropes itself around Roger's leg and pulls him into the closet. And this is how we see that there is a whole other world, a dimension, some other realm. It
takes him back to Vietnam.
It's an alternative universe, but yeah, he's now in the jungle. And sorry guys, I had to look at my notes.
And this is when we get the or no, we've already gotten the whole story about Big Ben, right?
Yeah, like this is when we get the finish me off Roger. We see what happened to him. That, like, he got drug off by the enemy and was, I get, like, tortured. Yeah. But also, it's in this moment that Roger sees his son in the jungle. And so when he gets catapulted back out of this realm and Harold is laying there, like, on the ground or, like, on the floor, but he has this, like, Tennessee...
Harold's just been sitting there getting drunk.
Yeah, whiskey. And so it kind of makes you think, like, how much time went by.
Yeah, enough time for him to go find a bottle and get wasted and pass out.
750 milliliter, and it's all halfway done.
Yeah.
Like, he was drinking, thinking maybe his friend had, like, completely vanished out of his sight, like, right there in front of him. How's he going to explain this to the cops? Crazy. But so Roger appears, and Harold is, like, happy but also super drunk and hungover. So Roger takes him back to, like, his place to get, you know, like, to wear it all off, to sleep it all off. But now Roger knows there are portals all over the house, and that's, like, how he can get to Jimmy.
And while he's in the bathroom, he discovers another portal in the mirror, and he smashes the mirror and has a tussle with a creature in the mirror.
Yeah, these, like, tentacles come. He has to, like, fight it off with this, like, straight razor. It's kind of scary, and also straight razors just make me uncomfortable anyways, but he has a total, like, Sweeney Todd moment with it. It's great.
He's like the best pies in London.
And he's swing your razor high, Sweeney.
That's right.
Occasional
Lansbury comes out and starts singing with him.
Hey, what you do? What
you do? What you hurry?
The worst pies in London. It's that monster Sandy comes in. Yeah. She has, like, this priestly pie. We just make this into this mashup of House and Sweeney Todd.
It's called House Todd.
House Todd. House Todd.
Or Sweeney House.
House. 2. How many houses are there? At least 3.
I know of 2.
At least 4.
10.
House 10. The Sweeney Todd story.
Yeah.
Okay. He gets pulled in again to the alternate realm, and he finds Jimmy now in a cage.
He's like, I'm gonna save my son.
And he retrieves his son, and they start running off, and then all these like bullets start flying, and he sees this like gunman in this helmet and fatigues, and all of a sudden a decomposed version, but he clearly comes off character-wise as Ben, and Roger's like, Ben, what are you doing? What's happening? And Ben's like, I told you I'd come back, bitch! And then shoots him.
Yeah.
Like, keeps shooting at him. He's this corpse ghost that chases after him, and Jimmy and Roger jump into what is supposed to be this river in the jungle, but then come out on the other side
And he
in
tells
the pool.
And he tells his son, like, run, go get help.
Yeah, and so that's exactly what Jimmy does, and we have this like crazy cat and mouse chaos with
Big Ben shooting at him through the door.
and then running after him through the house and chasing him on the second floor, and they have this tussle up and down the staircase and then out the door, but it ends up being onto this cliffside where the house is just right on the edge, and he's clinging to a cliff as he's...
It's a really cool, like, matte background special effect where you can tell, like, the whole house then is painted, and he's over, like, these cliffs, and the ocean is below him.
Yeah, this like...
I love the look of it. It looks really cool.
It is really neat. It's a wonderful CGI special effect.
You guys get to hear our little ritual. Goodbye, Tennessee. Thanks for taking good care of us.
Goodbye, Tennessee, the volunteer state. It was so awesome being up in ya.
Virginia. Get us through safely. We love you,
Hello,
girl.
Virginia.
Take care of us.
Welcome to the state of lovers.
Just so you know, Virginia is for lovers.
Lovers.
So yeah, you guys every once in a while get a little insight to our rituals and superstitions, and that's one of ours on the road. We always have to say goodbye to the state we're leaving and greet the new one.
It's like a necessary thing. If either of us doesn't do it,
we feel on edge, like something bad's gonna happen.
Well, it just, yeah, I want to say probably like, so we've been road tripping since I was 16 years old, and now I'm 39. And we've had, at this point, literally hundreds of road trips. And I bet you maybe there's been twice.
Oh my God, I don't even know
that
what they
we
would
didn't
be.
recognize that we had crossed a state line because it was like maybe like going in and out of something, but it really immediately causes us to get like superstitious that anything that might happen afterwards is to blame.
It's because we didn't greet the state we just drove into.
We're just paying respect to the place that we are in.
Yes, and paying homage to the place we just left.
A homage. So speaking of homes, we are now on this like cliff seaside where Roger is hanging by his fingertips he could plummet to his death, or he could somehow finagle himself back up, and he does. And how he does that is by using like a gun to drag corpse ghost Ben.
Yeah, he gets him by the leg with the strap and pulls him over the cliff.
And then is able to pull himself up, and we see Ben connect with like the rocks and the sea at the bottom, and
you're like, see ya, Ben.
We're overjoyed. This is happening, but it's kind of like a false ending because
Ben's not over it
He's
yet.
not dead. He is not dead. Roger thinks he's about to walk out of the house with Jimmy in hand, and here comes Ben one last time to try to scare Roger, and we get
He has Jimmy, and he's holding Jimmy, and you first just hear Jimmy saying like, Daddy, and when he comes into the room, it's Ben holding Roger's baby boy.
No! And he like has him by the throat with a knife, and Roger, and we get an attack where Ben tries to stab or like cut Roger, but nothing happens.
Well, he keeps telling Roger to kill himself. He's like, you wouldn't kill me. I got tortured for weeks before I died. Everything was worse for me. You're going to kill yourself or I'm going to kill your kid.
Yeah. But when Ben tries to stab or cut at Roger, it doesn't do anything.
And then Roger's like, I'm not afraid of you. You can't hurt me. I'm not afraid of you.
He gets his Nightmare on Elm Street
I was about to say,
moment.
it's very much like they stole the ending from Nightmare on Elm Street of like I take all the power away from you, Freddy, because I'm not afraid of you anymore.
And he even says it, like, I'm not afraid of you anymore. And it's kind of a steal, a story steal, because it is. Like, he realizes when Ben isn't able to hurt him that he really doesn't have anything to lose.
It is produced by Sean Cunningham, who produced Last House on the Left and was good friends with Wes Craven. And
there's tons of little nods throughout the movie of other directors, and we'll touch on that in a moment. But let's go ahead and just finish off this movie. So we've got this
finishing off. Oh my god.
Oh, that's gross. We get this realization from Roger that he actually has all the power. He verbalizes it, and then he takes a grenade, shoves it under Roger's decaying rib cage, grabs his son.
They run,
and they make a run for it, and Roger blows up.
Roger doesn't blow up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ben blows up. The house catches fire. Roger runs outside with his son Jimmy and sees Sandy is out there. She's pulled up in a taxi. It's very like Steven Spielberg in a way. Like the ending is just like happy.
It's super cheesy and mother and child reunite. Roger walks out and he's just grinning, like has this shit-eating grin, just smiling, very sitcom, which is funny because they're all like a lot of TV actors, and it just ends on this close-up, the shot of Roger just beaming and just smiling, and then it plays like some happy music and rolls credits.
And it really ends, and then just like tight, like done, like
they found their baby boy.
In a way, how this ends, it almost gives me an uneasiness, like actually everybody was dead and the house did trick him like the aunt said it would.
Well, I don't think so.
But then it's like, oh, happy ending.
Yeah.
But there is something about it. It's like, and in a very tight little bow, in 1 second, we have Sandy coming up, and she's there, and Harold's outside with his dog, so happy to see that Jimmy's alive, and Roger's there, and ta-da!
It's like everything just fixes itself right at the very end.
But, yes. To bring up, though, what you had mentioned, just all of the, Sean S. Cunningham being a part of so many other things that were happening around this time in horror, in production of other movies. There are little nods to, we think, Wes Craven with the Craven Realty sign.
Mm-hmm.
And the aunt's name is Mrs. Hooper, so maybe a nod there, and countless ones which they loved to do kind of all throughout. So many of them were very good friends with each other and kind of helped each other in the business. So I love that about this movie. It doesn't take itself seriously. Obviously, it is trying to say from the beginning it's a comedy, and that's what you get. Yeah. But yeah, so we're all done. The movie's over. We've now crossed over into Virginia.
We're going to go explore a crazy mansion in Washington, D.C., and we'll report back on everything we do, the places we eat, what we saw in the museum. We'll do our knife ratings and our favorite scenes, and we'll
tell you what's next.
Yeah, we'll be back shortly.
All right. Bye.
Another day, something's moving in the sea. Wake up, I just wanna go home. I may be shaking inside. I'm not the kind to run and hide. Come out, I'll take you all on my own. I've got
we are. We just got back in the car from an awesome experience in DC.
Currently in Virginia, heading back, and yeah, we just had a fun day in the DMV, as they call it. Stands for DC, Maryland, Virginia. Just in case you didn't know. I didn't know until today. We were hanging out in the DMV and not the Department of Motor Vehicles.
No, and more specifically, we were hanging out in Alexandria and we were hanging out in Washington, D.C. because we were hungry and we needed to go to the O Manor.
Yeah, our first stop was Alexandria, Virginia. We pulled over to this cool little spot called French Toast DMV. It's a food truck that resides in Alexandria, and it was the best French toast I've ever had in my life, y'all.
What did you have?
I had the cinnamon roll French toast. What did you have?
I had the strawberry-filled French toast, and it was topped with sliced strawberries and powdered sugar, and the filling was this like strawberry cream puree stuffed in between the two pieces of brioche toast. So it was incredible.
They stuffed it between?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mine was brioche toast with like the cinnamon roll filling on the inside, and then it was covered with like a drizzly version of like cinnamon roll topping.
So I had cream cheese topping.
It had like, it might have been mixed with cream cheese, but it was definitely like that cinnamon roll icing. And then it also had crunched up cinnamon toast crunch. It was so good. I want to eat it again like tomorrow.
Well, you can't because we're not there anymore.
I know. Why?
And you can't.
Why can't they have a French toast OKC truck?
Maybe one day they will. Maybe you'll open it up.
Let's do it.
Well, you. I don't want to work in a food truck.
I want to make. I want to make French toast all day. Sounds good to me. I'll make people happy with some yummy breakfast.
Okay. Well, next, after we filled up our tummies in Alexandria, we scooted on over to DC to DuPont Circle and parked our butts right in front of the biggest mansion I've ever seen inside a city.
Yeah, the parking was actually a godsend. It's so hard to find parking in DC, especially public parking in the neighborhoods, and parking was only 2-hour parking. We found a spot right out front, and it was perfection.
Literally right out front, and it was 2-hour free parking.
And luckily I got some mad parallel parking skills, because it was a tight little squeeze.
I'm sure you're used to squeezing into tight
tight little
spaces.
squeezes, get me in. But, yeah, and then we walked around the neighborhood just a little bit because our reservation wasn't till noon. But, yeah, so we saw a beautiful little neighborhood, like all the brownstones, tree-lined streets. And the manor the O Street Mansion is like 4 brownstones put together. And it looks like just one continuous house. It doesn't look like 4 houses just connected. Really beautiful, dark brick. It has a whimsical Alice in Wonderland touch on the outside. Lots of sculptures of Alice in Wonderland, like the Queen of Hearts, Alice, the Mad Hatter, the Cheshire Cat, are all in the garden in the front. And then you go ring the bell and they open the door and you're invited in. Kind of like we're vampires or something.
They're like, welcome. Yeah, the reception area is just everything. Like the moment that you arrive, everything is a part of the museum. Everything just kind of adds to the eclecticness, this uniqueness of the place itself. It's the docents and the tour guides. Everybody that was there were very kind, warm, very receptive. When we arrived, they immediately just wanted to put us at ease and tell us we could wander around wherever we like and start our journey. But we did arrive a little early, so we had gotten these passes to have some drinks. And so we went to their little cocktail bar area, and they already had made up for every type of liquor. They had a cocktail that was associated like with either the area of DC or with the manor itself. So we enjoyed a cherry blossom martini, a little vodka martini, but it was really it had good little cherry notes to it, and then it was that pink color like we know cherry blossoms in DC to be. So it was super cute. We enjoyed those. In the garden. So the manor is a manor, so people live there. There are artists that live there in residency, and they live there for years. At the moment, there are artists in residency that have lived there for 10 plus years. That is something that is very important to the founder of the O Manor, H.H. Leonard's Sparrow.
Who we saw there while we were
did.
wandering around.
She loves to be there. She's there every single day. She could be the person making your drink. She could be the person who is turning down the beds for the people that live there, or that use the... So they have rooms there as well that you can use as hotel rooms. So it kind of like... this place wears so many hats, but you can book rooms and stay overnight, and those rooms as well are a part of the museum. But when you happen to book them, there is like a level of privacy that they give to that room. But so many of the 100 plus rooms and hallways and nooks and crannies that are there, a hotel room might be one of them. But she could be turning down the bed in a room that somebody will book for the hotel, or she could be out there watering the garden, or on her laptop interviewing people. She's everywhere. We saw her as she was in one of the many rooms just on the phone. She had her laptop sitting there. You could tell she was working, but her laptop on the front of it said, "You can ask me anything." I love that she really would be never too busy for someone to just wander in and ask her a question. I thought that was a very kind and approachable way to handle what would be or could be an overwhelming amount of questions every day.
We didn't ask her anything, but we saw her and we walked past her and tried not to annoy her because she was in the middle of an interview or talking to somebody. Maybe not an interview, but she was conducting business on her laptop and speaking to somebody. So, but she was just in there. We're exploring. It took a couple hours to explore the mansion, and it was just when we were going through one of the rooms, there she was just sitting.
And we started really. We finished our cocktail and then started our journey through the different rooms in the backyard area. It's an adjoined room, but it was in that adjoined room that we found our first of, I believe they said there are 17 full secret doors. There are over 70 secret openings, but not all of them are going to be secret doors. So some of them will lead you to a whole other room with whatever in there, and others you might open it up and it's a cabinet that has something extra special inside it, or a fish tank that's empty but has something in there for you to find, and it's like this little bitty figurine inside something.
And everything in the mansion is for sale.
Except for the guitars. That is the only thing not for sale.
But the feeling you get when you're going through this mansion is it's almost a mix of Meow Wolf mixed with obviously a historical landmark mixed with a big flea market antique shop. The place is covered with tchotchkes and knickknacks and fine china, and you can even buy the chandeliers off the ceiling. Everything is for sale except the guitars. And so that's really fun. They tell you to start at the top floor and work your way down, which we did. We started at the very top, took the elevator up to the 4th floor, and then started our adventure there. And I think it was up on the 4th floor where we found like the 2-story cabin. There's even like a log cabin built inside the mansion, which is fun. That was one of my favorite rooms to explore.
Yes. I loved, so there, you can definitely tell the amenities are from a time, and certainly since this is not just a manor or a museum, this is a historic place, so certain things aren't going to be touched or bothered. They'll be kept exactly how it is. But a lot of the rooms that we would journey into would have these crazy bathrooms that maybe in like the early 90s would have been top tier, the lap of luxury bathroom. And now it's like everything just seems so bulky and clunky, and maybe not as like the jacuzzi tubs and stuff. They had so many holes all over them where tons of water and air was probably getting, you were getting probably the craziest bubble bath, but it just looks like you were stepping into another time. And but it was really neat. It reminded me of being a kid and going to other people's houses and like seeing somebody else's like parents' bathroom and being like, oh, what the heck? They have a green tub and it's made of marble? Cool. So I really liked that.
Another favorite aspect or room was the Rosa Parks room. Apparently she resided there for over 10 years and would, entertain diplomats and all kinds of people. Different celebrities would come and she would, hold court in one of her favorite rooms and have everybody come join her there.
Yeah, H.H. and Rosa Parks hit off a very long-lasting friendship. One of the biggest components of the manor is, with the proceeds that it receives, is to fight social justice and to use what profits it does, because it's a non-for-profit, so what profits it might receive, it puts back into the community and the arts, and then just making sure that it's coming to bat for all the peoples. I thought that was really neat and unique that they had Rosa Parks there. All of the sitting presidents, H.H. and her husband have met with since Reagan. The only president that hasn't had the opportunity while they were sitting in office to visit the O Manor was President Obama. But she has met and has had wonderful rapport and relationships with all the presidents, and they have also donated, and their cabinets have donated to the manor as well. And you can walk around and find maybe like an inaugural letter, an official inaugural letter for all of these different presidents. And I just think that's really neat. She would have been receiving these. It's like a dream that you would get in the mail, like a letter, an invitation to go to it and sit there amongst all the hoity-toity people of DC.
There's also a horror-themed room. They call it Chucky's room, and it's a long, dark hallway that leads you to 2 different rooms that are themed with like scary mannequins of different horror movies. Like there was Chucky, Ghostface, all
the clowns from
Frankenstein.
outer space.
Yeah, the killer clowns from outer space. That room was really fun, and it was darkly lit and scary music. When you clapped, the music and the noises would get louder in the room. That was a lot of fun.
I liked that. There was a room dedicated completely to Elvis and what looked like very like first-hand kind of memorabilia, things maybe that might have been legitimately from Lisa Marie Presley's life or one of her family members. And there was a couple of places outside in the garden area that's signed by Lisa Marie from a few years ago, so that you just never know who's gonna be there and who's gonna contribute to the art that you might walk away with that day if you choose to buy something.
There was a John Lennon and Beatles room. There was you could even go down in the kitchen and you could find, if you discovered the hidden door, a secret wine cellar. And there was a spy room that was dedicated to any
FBI.
kind of FBI, and then any spies in pop culture, fictional or otherwise. that was really neat. They had a lot of TVs set up, like you were like in the CIA watching different reports.
Yeah, it's like
and
you had a
things.
CCTV area. It was it was really neat. Definitely a place, if you're there and it's a hot day in DC, I would definitely recommend wandering around in there for hours.
And it's relatively cheap. It's $30 a person, but you get unlimited access to every floor. You can stay as long as you need. You know, you can keep circling back, going back to rooms you enjoyed. There's no right or wrong way to do the tour. They suggest starting on the 4th floor, but you can start at the bottom. You can work your way up and then work your way back down. You know, you could be there for hours.
Yeah. And they have lots of different events throughout the year, parties. People have weddings there. And like we mentioned, there are artists that are living there as well. So the artists' families will come and they will have parties and celebrations for whenever maybe they're showing off their artwork in the galleries. So I just appreciate there's an HH and her family, they don't come from money. They actually went into quite a bit of debt to realize this dream of theirs of having an eclectic space for artists and people in social justice and reform to have a safe place to come and to be around like-minded people. But they aren't in it to make a dollar, and it's something that although she's very proud of, it is what she says, this is what my family will receive from me. They're not going to be receiving a whole bunch of monetary riches. What they will receive is this manner of life and happiness and music and art, and just kind of, I love that. I love that that's, for her, this is her life's work. It's 40 plus years in the making, and I loved wandering around.
Yeah, the feeling inside is very, eclectic and colorful, and there's really nothing too creepy. It can be creepy in the sense that you're wandering around and it's so big that it can be quiet and kind of still and weird, and you're just surrounded by all these artifacts and things. But it's not like you're exploring a haunted house like the movie we covered today. It definitely has like a really nice spirit to the house. If it is haunted, it's by a lot of friendly ghouls, and the only creepy element was the scary rooms, and I think they do that just to add another element, because there are so many varied themes throughout the house, so it's fun that they give you one spooky theme. But overall, other than like the antique smell, it definitely smells like a flea market or an antique shop on the inside the house.
Yeah.
Everything feels very bright and colorful, and it's really a fun way to spend an afternoon in DC. Something new to see and do in DC other than going and doing the Smithsonian's or the National Mall and all the typical things people do in DC. This is something fun and interesting and just as neat. And you're going to get a lot of historical value out of it as well. So I highly recommend it to everybody out there. If you're in the DC area, go to the O Street Mansion.
Yes. And enjoy your time. And tell them we sent you.
And then we ended with one more cocktail at the end of our...
Yes, yeah. Well, because we
had
had
the
these
tickets,
passes,
yeah.
so yeah, and they were great. I love that they already had these pre-made cocktails. I mean, they had a bar. We could have ordered something different, but who doesn't like a themed drink?
Right.
After that, we're going to be honest, we took advantage of that free parking, and Josh moved his car up like 2 spaces.
Yeah, we had hit the 2-hour mark. We were actually a little over 2 hours, and the people in front of us already had a ticket. And so I knew I needed to move the car. Luckily, we found a spot just like halfway down the street, and I just reparked.
I stood there. I was ready to stand my ground, guys.
And I ran back, moved my car, and we were good. And then we walked just around the corner in DuPont Circle to this amazing Spanish tapas place.
Yes, called Boqueria, so which is a word that is used for an open market, usually selling foods, meats, and yummy treats. So we knew what was in store. And you guys know we went to Spain a while back, so we've had tapas. We knew what to papas on the tapas.
So yeah, we ended up doing the chef's table, or I think is what it was called, which it was like basically a tasting menu. Just the food kept rolling out, guys.
Yes.
I can't eat any more of the rest of my life after all the food we
Just
ate
little
there today.
bites, but amazing croquettes de jamon,
Oh my gosh.
tomate bread, paella, shishito peppers, ensalada de Brussels,
Another kind of bread and dip.
patatas bravas. Oh, and a new one, albondigas. Albondigas, I think is the way to pronounce it. But it's like Spanish meatballs, and we had never had those.
And they were probably the best meatballs I ever had. Sorry, Italians.
So,
The
I'm not.
Spanish got your beat
They
on
got
these
your
meatballs.
It was like, maybe there's something in the spice, but, or maybe it was the chorizo.
They felt more like maybe even like sausage meatballs or something. I'm not sure if that's correct, but
Yeah, they were chorizo meatballs.
okay, that's
Yeah.
why. There you go.
Sausage meatballs,
Yeah.
yeah. But they were damn good. And we had the seafood paella, so you know that was slapping.
Yeah. Stuff beyond belief, guys. It was so good.
Oh, and I mean, I'm sorry, guys. It's our vacation, so we had another drinky. I had an espresso martini, and Josh had the smoke the herbs, like a mezcal drink.
It was delicioso. And, you know, it's been kind of a drizzly day here in DC, so we decided we were done. We'll get back to where we're headed a little early. But we love DC. We always come out to this area probably about once a year, so we'll probably do another DC episode soon, if not next year, the year after that.
Yeah, you know you can count on some East Coast episodes. We got to get all across this map here in the contiguous United States of America.
That's right.
All right, let's get back into House. Let's get back into House. Tell me, Josh, what favorite Roger scene is yours?
Yeah, I think he's in every frame of this movie pretty much. My favorite scene is when you think his wife or ex-wife has shown up to the house, and then she turns into the creepy, huge monster, and they have that tussle and they're fighting, and it ultimately ends with all the, like, the scissors and the hammer, like all the things that were chasing him around the house earlier, you know, chop her head off, and then, you know, we get those funny scenes after where he's trying to bury her and the, like, sexy lady across the streets talking to him. Like, just that whole sequence is a lot of fun. This movie's just a lot of fun. It doesn't take itself serious at all, even though it deals with some serious themes like Vietnam and, like, you know, post-war, how people feel.
Family loss.
Yeah, all kinds of really heavy topics, but they do it in a way that's almost PG-13. I know the movie's rated R, but every time I think of this movie, I think PG-13, because it's not really that gory. It's not really jump scary. It's just, again, kind of like the house we just went to. Very colorful, eclectic, weird, silly, and I really like that scene. I like how the wife turns into this, like, saggy boob.
She's like, Sandy turns into Monster Sandy.
And she's still wearing that same dress. Like, it's just a lot of fun. I
and the
love that
lipstick.
scene.
And the
Yes,
nails.
and the
Having nails done.
Even though she's, like, bloated and blue, she still has her nails and lipstick on.
Excuse me, are you talking about me or Sandy being bloated?
Well, I think we're both bloated and blue
I'm
after that
bloated
meal,
and-
that's for sure.
Okay, mine is going to be towards the end. I love that last kind of like fight between Roger and Ben when Roger has found Jimmy in that world and he's got to fight off Ben, and then there's that really awesome scene of them on the house is on the cliff, and he's got to basically either can get Ben to go down or he's going down, one way or another. I like that it's kind of a chase scene. I like that they're wandering all through the house. It's cat and mouse, but he's also like got his son now, so there's that alleviated, like, oh god, okay, the kid is fine. But I do really enjoy the banter that Ben often has with Roger, because he's like, I mean, yeah, he's going after him, wants to kill him, but he's got a joke up his sleeve. Everything is funny to Ben, and that might be why he ended up in the circumstance that he ended up in to begin with, being caught by the enemy in the jungle. But I think that's my favorite scene. All in all, it's like, this movie, like you said, is not scary. It's funny. It's like lighthearted, but I do love all the practical effects and the puppetry, and then the full-on suits that people are wearing, the costumes, because the makeup. It's great.
It's a lot of fun to watch. It's almost gateway horror, like I think I mentioned the first segment. By the way, we did look up gooning. It is.
Oh my god! I told you we weren't going to talk about this.
And now she believes me that it's a real term.
Well, it's stupid, and
it is stupid. I didn't say it wasn't.
Well, it's just made up, guys. No one's gooning. I don't like it. It sounds gross.
It does sound gross. Anyways, though, my knife rating, I'm going to give a solid 3. I could maybe lean towards a 3.5 because the movie is so much fun. And it is a movie I go back to every couple of years and just love to watch. It's a great, like, rainy day movie, you know, just something to pop on when there's nothing else to do and you just want to, like, lay around and watch, like, a fun movie. I would recommend House for that kind of situation.
Yes, definitely. I could see me and you, and like the nieces and the nephews on a rainy day and say like, all right guys, let's pop in House. It's finally time to show this to you, and watch their eyeballs just get huge.
They would laugh and they get silly. And,
yes. All of our nieces and nephews, you know they're related to us because they love horror movies. I guess I'm going to also give it a 3. I think it's a very well-deserved 3. I'm not saying it's middle of the road. I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form that it doesn't do certain things well. It definitely, maybe if it was a little more serious.
It's just definitely a product of its time.
Yes.
It screams like 1985, 1986, you know. Like,
yeah.
But
I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
What it's bringing and what it's giving, and
it's like a really fun episode of like Goosebumps or something.
Yeah.
Not quite as dark as like Are You Afraid of the Dark? Those episodes could be damn scary. Goosebumps was always a little more colorful, a little bit more funny, a little bit more light on
and
the
Slappy
scares.
the dummy, he was always cracking jokes. Ben to me really reminds me of somebody like a Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, I agree.
He's got jokes up his sleeve. Before he's gonna kill you, he wants to make sure that you know his latest little.
And I wonder
slap.
if, because of the time period, if that was in response to Freddy. You know, Freddy had already been out a couple of years, or had probably already been at least 2 or 3 of the movies at that point.
Yeah,
he
so
was
he's
already becoming a cultural phenomenon, and that was one of Freddy's things, was the jokes. And Sean Cunningham was friends with Wes Craven, who produced them. Sean Cunningham produced the movie, so it could be in response to Freddy being so popular. Everybody was wanting their own franchise, and
everybody wanted their own Freddy.
Even Wes Craven himself tried to duplicate that magic when he did Shocker. He thought Horace Pinkleton or whatever could be the next Freddy, but that didn't work out, even though I like Shocker. But yeah, House, a great, good, solid 3-knife film.
Yes. All right, guys. Well, we are all done with episode 105. Next month is episode 106, and we are going west. We're going to go to New Mexico, to Santa Fe, New Mexico.
We're going to do some religious stuff. There's a, not a magical, but what do they call it? A mythical.
It's the miraculous staircase at the Loretto Chapel, which is... It's in Santa Fe. It's just it's a constructed staircase, and it's miraculous because
no one knows how it was.
Yeah, we don't really understand how it still sits, how it is today.
And while in Santa Fe, we're also going to visit the oldest church in America,
Mm-hmm.
and then doing all this religious stuff, we're going to cover The Nun.
Because guys, I need to break the news to you. Josh has felt a calling to become a nun.
I'm going to become a nun.
And
join the nunnery.
And in real style, just for him, he doesn't just want to be a nun. He wants to be the top
nun.
Mother Superior. I told him that's a ladder that you climb, and he
Go
said,
big or go home.
yeah, like he does not need chutes and ladders. Is the game of his life. So
I walk in, I say, I'm Mother Superior.
and he is. You're my supreme, but so yes, guys. Episode 106 will sadly be Sister Josh. A final episode before he takes his vows and lives a life of chastity.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but we're gonna cover the nun, the 2018. Wait, it's a Farmiga. What's her name?
It's not Vera. It's
The other one.
The young Farmiga.
The young Farmiga.
Starring young Farmiga.
Teresa? Tanisha?
Tay. I forget.
Tammy?
Tammy Farmiga.
It's not Tammy. Whatever. So she's in it. We know that. And then the nun lady. Why can't I remember her name either?
We've seen her at Frightmare
yeah.
a few times.
Guys, I'm delirious. I'm stuffed full. I can't remember names anymore. We gotta go.
Yeah, don't forget to rate and review us. Go to Apple Podcast or wherever you listen and give us that 5-star and give us a little review. It really helps us get seen, helps promote the show. And follow us on any of our social medias and join our Patreon.
Yes, go to our YouTube channel. Watch our reactions. Tell us something else you want us to watch. Go to our Patreon. Join it. Like, sign up.
All right, we love you guys.
We love you guys. Take care of each other. Bye.
Bye.